Well, well, well. Look who it is. Dustin, and
Chandra, hi guys.
it's Tuesday. I told you I'd see you next Tuesday, and here we are.
Yes.
7 p.m. A little after. I set it for 7:05 because last week.
We're late literally every time.
Yes.
Why be on time when you can be late?
Right? You guys ain't paying us to be here on time. You're in a job. No.
You're such a dork.
Yeah. How is everyone doing this evening?
Is anybody even here?
There's at least 3 people here.
All right.
3.
You don't know how fingers and numbers work?
3.
Is that how that is?
3.
I need to teach you like I teach the child. You're gonna do 1.
Dang
it! Get out of my head.
Anyway, how are y'all doing this evening?
Anywho, I'm tired. Oh.
We had the young one until after 6.
And I picked up work on Monday. So 3 days in a row. Not terrible, but just very busy days where slowing down was not a thing. And then today, all day, the 5-year-old, and she was just on it.
None of your business, Paul. None of your business, Paul. No, you are all my business. All of it.
And making huge messes through my whole house. My house looks like a tornado came through.
She put in work today.
She did. And I was too tired and just not in the mood and not wanting to grouch at her. So I kind of just let her do it. I was like,
as I went out to dash at 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I dashed from 3 to 5:30 and it was abysmal.
Timing's not optimal.
I mean, I don't know if going out earlier in the afternoon would be better. I had planned to go out at 11, but I just slept a little longer than I wanted to. And then I called Disney about some photos from our photo passes that didn't show up, and we got those resolved.
Yeah.
Posted some of those on the Facebook. So if you follow me on Facebook, you can see those. So they're there.
Yeah. I was excited to see some of them.
The Tron photos, the Tron video.
Our daughter looks crazy in her Tron picture.
Mm-hmm.
She looks amazing.
Good evening, Jason. I am so glad you are here, sir.
Hello.
How are you? How are you, sir?
I have very obnoxious. Why it's there. So anyway.
You were talking about something.
Was I talking about something?
Working and being tired and
yeah, just tired. Since we've gotten back from Disney, and I would equate some of it probably to all the trash that we ate while we were there. When I've been getting up in the mornings after work days, my knees hurt. I've never had pain, like joint pain there. I have chronic joint pain in my left hip. That's been since my daughter was an infant. I don't see that improving anytime soon. But it's manageable. But my knees have started to hurt. And I'm wondering if, we put so much wear and tear on them in Disney, combined with eating trash while we were down there, that they're just like, oh, you're killing me, when I wake up on the days after work.
Because we've been relatively good since we've been back, and I feel like my belly's gotten bigger.
Since we've been back?
Well, it hasn't really gone down. I mean, I don't know, I don't know. It's probably all perception, and it's probably not really true, but I feel better and lighter because we've been eating better.
Yeah.
And we haven't been having a lot of trash.
Yeah.
Last night we tried to. Well, those weren't the high key sandwich cookies.
Yeah.
I think we tried to eat some of those, and normally we'd eat the whole package, but I had 2 or 3, and I was just like, put them in a Ziploc and put them in the fridge.
I think I had 2 of them, and I was like, no.
It's not normal for us.
No, be fair, they're only.
Yeah.
They're not great, but I don't know. I feel better. Like I'm back where my mental status is better. Like I didn't have any crashes at work or anything like that,
I have been putting an electrolyte pack in your lunch.
I've been doing that every day at work once, usually in the evening before we leave. Because I drink my coffee in the morning, and then I don't eat or drink anything until I go to lunch. And I usually go to lunch around like between 2 and 4. Oh,
Trying to make sure.
hello. I can yell.
Does that work better? Let us know, because I mean everything's plugged in. I don't know what. There's no connections.
No broken connection.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe having to upgrade our mics anyway, get some new ones because the clips on these are broken.
Yeah.
So you might want to move.
I can yell in your general direction. I'll yell at your beard.
Yeah. How's that working, Jason? Is that sounding any better at all? There's no way really for us to know.
Yeah.
Because we don't have monitors set up down here.
No.
In my office we would, but I don't have a place for two of us to sit.
And your office is very dark.
Well, I have plenty of lights.
Still dark. But anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about. So I normally have my coffee in the morning, and then I have nothing to eat or drink until after my coffee is done. And I go to lunch between 2 and 4, sometimes as late as 5. And I think I went to lunch at 5 to Sunday and Monday at work, just because it was such a busy day. And then I don't think it's working. Maybe it's broke.
Might be. We'll have to get new mics.
Here, just move this over here and we can share it. Can you hear me now?
Because I'm a loud person. I know you can hear me.
I can be loud, but usually I reserve that for when I need to yell at a patient.
Well, anyway.
So after I eat my lunch, then I drink a Propel. And if I have time, I'll have the electrolyte drink. And I've been doing the liquid IV sugar-free. And I usually will refill my Propel bottle with water and then add that to that. So I have been doing electrolytes just to make sure. But I still really
they're gonna think it's you. Or they're gonna think it's them that's boring.
Who's boring?
Because you're just yawning at the storm. I know.
I am tired. I had one patient this weekend through Monday who just decided to be a troublemaker.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, he can't control his own vital signs, but it was very troublesome. Anyhow, what are you doing?
Trying to see if there's something that we're conflicting with. It doesn't seem like we've got too many people in here today. Just 2. And normally we have 15.
Maybe it's because we've been late every time. Nobody wants to come to your party if you're always late.
Well, I mean, yeah. And then Jason says he can't hear us, so
maybe you need to close it and reopen things.
I can't do that.
Oh. Maybe something else is wrong.
Talk.
Hello.
Yeah, that should be working fine.
I'm just not as loud as you.
Yeah.
I'll lean over.
That's fine. You can just take a nap.
Lean into it. I might nap. If
Yeah.
I start snoring, I'm sorry. Anywho.
So I don't know. I know that I think Carnivorous Me is live right now. So anyway, tonight what we wanted to talk about, and we were hoping to have some interactions and some pushback on some of the stuff that we were going to be taking a look at. And I was trying to hopefully wait for some other people to come in so we could have that conversation. But
we can talk about other things.
Yeah, we can.
What else do you got going on? Do you want to know what I'm doing for Christmas for our granddaughter?
She might be watching.
Oh, she might be watching. Never mind. I'm not going to tell you. It's a secret.
I mean, you never know if she's watching.
That's true. My kids do play it for her when they're at home. They play Ma and Pa on the videos. But I'm having a really good time doing it. Oh, how about plans that we have for tomorrow?
Okay.
So tomorrow I'm going to spend a girls' day with my best friend, which is very exciting. we're gonna hit some thrift stores, maybe Five Below in the Dollar Tree to try to collect some more things for this gift that we're doing for my granddaughter for Christmas. Also thrift stores because we love thrift stores. And then tomorrow night, we are going to go see a comedian that we first saw on Kill Tony.
Yes.
And his name is Aaron Belisle. And he is hilarious.
He's a Canadian just like you, Jason.
I'm very excited to see him.
Yeah, so Aaron Belisle, he is a Canadian nonverbal comedian. Yeah. So what he does is he has a speaker. They place a microphone on top of the speaker, and he talks through his phone. He has cerebral palsy, so he is obviously nonverbal.
Well, not obviously.
Well, right. Well, he is nonverbal, and he's hilarious. We started seeing him like a year ago, give or take, on Kill Tony.
Yeah, and I think he was on America's Got
He's on there right now.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, I mean, I'm sure they filmed a bunch, and they just can't talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they film it all, and then they have to like spread it out over the season.
Yeah.
So
he's a funny dude. I'm excited to see him.
One thing I was listening to while I was door dashing today, which didn't go as well as I would like. But anyway, I got some information. I was listening to a rancher talking about how much of our beef that is in circulation that we eat is marked made or marked USA sourced. Mm-hmm. That is not.
Why are they shipping in beef?
They ship it from Australia. They ship it from like Europe. They ship it from South America.
What's the point? We have plenty here.
Well, I'm not exactly sure why. They didn't really talk about why, but it's like 1 billion pounds annually.
That's crazy.
So we talk about climate change, and we talk about there's always that discussion that beef and meat and everything is bad for the environment. But yet here we are shipping 1 billion pounds of meat into the States, processing it in the States, so we can then call it USA beef. Now, there is a good amount of beef that says, product of Australia, product of wherever, right? But a good amount of it will say, oh, made in the USA, but it's not farmed here. It's not grown here. It's grown in another country, slaughtered in that country, and then brought over frozen.
It seems like the U.S. is constantly finding a new way to reinvent the wheel. There's no reason for this.
There has to be some kind of financial gain.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but there's no reason for this. That's ridiculous. That doesn't just make any kind of sense. And how on earth, and I know that there is financial gain, but how? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
But think about how much beef just McDonald's alone goes through.
I understand.
And they need it to be at a specific profit level so they can charge us So
essentially they're paying some people like $1 a month for what they're getting. They're paying them next to nothing and doing all of their own processing at whatever super cheap rates and not paying people a living wage, and then processing it and shipping it over here and then lying to the general public.
Well, they don't process it till it gets here, so then they butcher it, package it, and drive it around on trucks, and it gets to who knows who's buying all of it, right? It's showing in grocery stores, fast food restaurants. Now we know that there are companies like In-N-Out Burger that do locally source, and they don't send frozen meat to their locations. They don't even have freezers. So there is things like that. I think maybe Wendy's is like that too.
I don't know. Hi, Ron. Thanks for stopping in.
Hey, Ron. How are we doing? Happy Tuesday night.
Well, I don't know. I don't understand how companies justify and make these profits. I just don't get what. I understand that everything is expensive in America because you have to pay people whatever the minimum wage is to get things happening. But how does it make any kind of sense that we have cows here and then they have imported? I don't understand.
So Jason says a lot of Australian beef is imported and sold as grass fed through companies and butcher box. But that's the crazy thing. Up until what, 10 years ago, grass fed wasn't a label on beef.
No, that's true.
There was just beef. Because, well, I mean, it's probably, I don't know when grass fed became a popularized, like vitamin enriched.
It's like all the chicken says no antibiotics given. No kidding. There's a flippin' law. They can't give them.
Well, what they do say is they'll say
give them that.
vegetarian fed chickens. That's not a happy chicken.
On top of that, that's not a live chicken because any live chicken is going to eat whatever walks across its little cell. Mm-hmm. You might feed it only a vegetarian diet, but it's going to eat whatever bugs crawl by.
It's like vegetarian pork. The pigs are natural. Anything. Yeah, they will eat. Yeah.
Anything. These are scavenger animals. They will eat whatever.
I mean, they like vegetables.
Well, they're omnivores. They will eat anything that's put in front of them that they can chew.
Well, pigs are a rooting animal.
Right. They would prefer other things. Yeah. But they literally eat anything you put in front of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same with chickens. Chickens will eat anything. My dad used to work on a chicken farm, and he would tell me all these stories about how they were the most vicious creature he'd ever dealt with.
They're dinosaurs. People will think you're insane when you say chickens are dinosaurs. They're like little velociraptors.
You're a dinosaur.
You know what? You're not wrong.
You know it.
Jen Joyman is in the house.
Ooh, Jen.
We're so glad you are here.
Thank you for coming.
Fat free. Oh, yeah. No sugar added.
Sugar added is bull.
Oh, like no sugar added. Then they put like rice flour in there. And
freaking okay. So the Coffee Mate coffee creamers that say no sugar added, just turn it around and look. The first ingredient is corn syrup. Number one, first ingredient. It was insane. I was like, wait, what? You can't be serious marketing it like this. That's ridiculous.
So they talked about this on that podcast. So what she said is, mainly one of the things, grass-fed beef doesn't taste as good. I personally really like the flavor of grass-fed beef.
I could care less.
I know you don't. You don't even understand the difference between standard def and high def.
It all looks the same to me. It's not worth the cost.
Anyway, she's insane. Anyway, so the thing about grass-fed, that's what beef is supposed, and it's supposed to be not so much tough, but the idea that we have bred cattle that are basically like us, they're sick. You think about how much fat goes through all the beef that you're buying in the grocery store. They're basically, these animals wouldn't have a very long natural life eating that. I mean, they're only usually alive for 2 years anyway.
Yeah, but they taste better when they're fatty.
They do taste better, yes. But the thing is like our jaws, we're not used to chewing, and building up our jaw muscles, and that's why we have more tooth problems. Like we have to have our wisdom teeth extracted because there's not as much room in our mouth anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's because we're eating more soft foods. We're eating mac and cheese, and we're eating stuffing.
Because I chew gum every day, that makes me better.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. But there is an actual gum that we can
look at that jaw muscle. Look at that.
Do you have your wisdom teeth?
I do.
I do too.
Never removed.
I have mine too.
I don't know where they are. They're not sticking out. They're probably still buried underneath.
Gen X for the win. But yeah, I mean,
another reason why our gen.
Fat is flavor. Fat is delicious. But the thing about
cows back in the day probably didn't look like this.
They probably didn't. But
were you going somewhere and you got lost?
I'm trying not to burp into the mic. Yeah. But I mean, they were talking about, it's like the newest Joe Rogan episode. He had a rancher and the rancher's daughter on there talking about all this stuff. And it's very fascinating how much meat is, shipped in from overseas, whether it's Australia or Croatia, weirdly enough, just random places they ship beef in. And we have all the Great Plains of the United States that would be perfect for ruminant animals to thrive.
It's probably being government subsidized to be nothing.
It might be. Just let it die, which is so weird.
Yeah, I don't even pretend to understand what our government is doing.
So what he said he wants some Panda Express.
Panda.
Yes. I don't know if you guys have Panda Expresses up there or not. I just don't know what Canada has versus what we have.
He wants Panda massage.
Goodness. Yeah.
Is that like those that Kobe beef?
Welcome.
Well, hello.
I don't know what he's saying.
Oh, I apologize. I am not.
Yeah.
Something live for the day.
Yeah.
Wagyu. That's what you're talking about. Yeah,
like Wagyu. Yeah. But I mean, even most of the Wagyu isn't even.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Pat did a thing on that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Pat.
Yeah.
So the what is it called? Food theory.
Yeah.
There's a whole video on food theory about Wagyu beef and how most of it is not Wagyu beef.
Right.
So if you want to watch that, it's interesting. You know, we like watching them things. It's fun to watch. But I really apologize. I don't have a translating software to understand what you're saying. You can type it in.
Yeah.
Dr. Google to the rescue.
It's going to take me a second because I'm slow.
And you can't type or spell worth a mess.
Well, that's a different language.
I know, but you can't do it in English either. So, but anyway, I don't know. I like beef. I don't really care. Mostly the cut, as long as it's chewable. I don't do well with those for whatever reason, without fail. When we pick a steak, if I pick it out for myself, I get the worst cut every time.
No matter what I do, I try to give her the best one, and it never fails to be the wrong one.
Every time I'm like, it's just the worst. I can't. I don't know what it is. I don't. So some people have luck with small things, and I have luck in life. That's the difference. I have a very lucky life. I lead a life that, I personally feel like we're doing well in, and unfortunately, I don't have luck with small things. I have terrible luck with gambling. I have terrible luck with things that I like going out of stock or companies that I like going out of business. And unfortunately, I have bad luck picking a steak, but I have a lucky life.
She has me.
I do have you. And you are pretty good stuff. I lucked out there too.
So it was just crazy. Like, they're talking about, like, I've never even, okay, so even when I was getting locally sourced eggs, I still never got those really super bright orange yolks. Mm-hmm. They just look like, I cracked them open, they look just like Walmart eggs or Costco eggs or whatever. Doesn't matter if they were free range or whatever, cage free, it didn't matter. But I had a friend that would have all these surplus eggs in the summertime, and he would give them to us, and I would eat them. She wouldn't touch them.
No, they are weird.
But they didn't taste any different than store-bought eggs. I don't know what it is, maybe like the feed they were feeding them or whatever, but maybe they weren't able to get enough bugs, whatever.
Those, I don't know. There's something about, maybe it's because I've only ever had store-bought eggs, but those ones that came from wherever they came from, they just look sketch. They looked at me funny.
They're just eggs.
They looked at me funny. Those yolks were like hyper yellow.
No, they were
like
not.
orange.
No, they were.
gross.
That's what I want.
Gross.
I've bought duck eggs before. There's a cute video on my Facebook with the girl and I eating eggs, and they're duck eggs. And,
Yeah, she was excited about that.
yeah.
But I don't know. And I'm just weird. I'm weird about food. It can't look at me weird. Can't take it. I need my food to just look the same way it always does and not change.
So some of you may be wondering. So we talk in the description of this is there is a slam poetry artist named Rachel Wiley, and I ran across about a week or two ago a poem of hers called "A Fat Girl Joke" or a fat joke. And it's about 3 minutes long, and it's very powerful stuff. And I kind of wanted to share it with you, and we wanted to talk about it and kind of go line by line and break it down, kind of giving it, an interesting, way we looked at, how we look at it, because I think a lot of people would watch this and be upset.
Well, and I think she's recent. This is not new material.
Yeah, it's like 5 years ago.
But she's gotten a newfound interest with all of these short.
I found it through a short
videos.
Yeah.
Like what Instagram
and Facebook and TikTok. Yeah.
Twitter and all those things. So we thought you guys might come across her too and see what you felt.
Because there was one line that I kind of wanted to talk about, and there's a few that she wanted to talk about. So I figured we'll go through the 3 minutes. We won't play it all at once, just for the fact that it's well, not just that, but there's a lot of information to digest, and we kind of wanted to break it apart and talk piece by piece. So we'll just go ahead and go here. Now, one thing is let us know if you can't hear the audio in this or if it's not working properly. So just let us know.
Yeah.
No, hold on a second. Let me go ahead and bring this up here. So this is her. This is Rachel Wiley. Now, obviously she's a big girl. So I mean that's where like this is the fat joke. That's what this is called. It's a 5-year-old video. It's on a slam poetry YouTube channel. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this. So that is a thing, that's something, like I said, when we started keto back in 2016, or when we started low carb, that moved into, so no audio. Okay, Jason. Thank you for that. All right. So I need to go out of that and then make sure I can fix the audio. Thank you.
Thanks for letting us know. We're going to tweak it and play it again.
Yeah, hopefully it'll let me play the audio.
Could you hear it that time, Jason?
Yeah, did that work this time, Jason? I don't know, because sometimes it's just so wonky on what it'll allow me to do. Let me go into the settings here and make sure.
Here, see what he. Okay, well, maybe we'll just have to cover this some other time because we can't get it to work.
Well, we can still see there's still the subtitles. I don't know if people want to read that or whatever.
It's okay. We can just talk about that first part of it and then we'll do it another time. You have a chance to figure it out and make it work.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to fight with it.
Well, I know that I know I've seen the whole idea there, and there's everything there to let me do it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know. Anyway, the subtitles are good.
Well, so if you actually want to go watch this, we'll add the link.
Yeah, the link is in there already.
Yeah. She is I'm not huge into slam poetry, but she at least I like the way she does it. It does have good emphasis and you listen to it and you're like, oh wow, that really is how things go.
Right.
But so anyway, the first part is when you're fat and you go to the doctor's office, the first thing they suggest to you is getting weight loss surgery.
Right.
So,
and that's what I was saying. Like when I went in to start looking and looking at losing weight and getting my hernia fixed, and all of that, they didn't necessarily offer weight loss surgery, but it was definitely something that she and I discussed.
Yeah.
Because it is something that
it's something that's so prevalent now that you had brought it up even and I was like absolutely not, no way, but people, it's not even an easy route, that's the problem. And they you know they kind of tout it for everybody whether or not it's appropriate.
Right.
And I see that being on the medical side of things. I've seen patients who should have never had it in the first place because they weren't big enough to warrant such a drastic intervention. And I've seen patients who have received it who didn't receive, I would say, the proper vetting prior to surgery. Because the truth is, the surgery isn't going to work for patients who can't or who aren't ready. If
Right.
you're not ready to do the work, the surgery isn't going to fix you.
Yeah.
So I I do find it frustrating that it's kind of a catch-all and they offer it to everybody and that there's not much, distinction there as to who really qualifies and who's really appropriate.
It becomes a catch-all anymore.
It does. I've always said a surgeon who tries to convince you not to have surgery is a surgeon you should continue to see because a surgeon who doesn't want to cut is a surgeon that's a good surgeon.
And that was the thing, like that got Gary Fettke in trouble. So
Yeah.
Gary Fettke was or is an orthopedic surgeon down in Tasmania. And he was seeing patients about their toes, fingers, and such with diabetes. And he was not talking them out of surgery, but saying, this is what we're getting to. If you want to save your toe or your finger, do this. And he was, basically giving advice on how to eat better so they wouldn't lose their toes. And it was working. And then he got basically like his license was up to be like taken away. And there was all this legal battle and all this stuff. And I mean, obviously he's a big, low carb advocate. And I've heard, he's been on numerous podcasts and I've heard him talk quite a bit. And I'm hoping that Gary Fettke is the one that was down there. I can't always remember because there's
Which person.
Yeah, because there was a guy from Tasmania and there was a guy that was from like Ireland and stuff. So I can't remember. So if I'm mistaken, I apologize. But anyway, let's look at a little bit more of this video here. There is subtitles, and I wish I could get the audio because she has such a great delivery. Let me see. At least we know we have the subtitles. Oh, I think that didn't even quite work. I think I messed up. I didn't put it on the right thing, so I have to
Oh,
rewind.
way to go.
You know what? I'm not the best at this, and I
Yeah.
apologize.
Here.
Yeah. Yes.
That is what we are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Jen's like, you can't see anything. And I'm like, oh, let me go back here.
Yeah, right after that. We
Yep.
finish that part. Okay. Okay, did you see it that time?
Okay.
Exactly, Jen. Professionals.
Right. All right.
Yeah, that's true, Jason. See, I actually can read that from here. As long
Can
as I
you?
lean in real good and squint a little, I got it. Um, if a patient's not mentally in the right place, then bariatric surgery is not going to do anything for them at all. It's the same thing with a diabetic patient who's getting a toe cut off. You can tell them they're diabetic and they're going to lose their toe and they may lose their foot, but if they're not mentally prepared to make any changes in their life, they're not going to. And they're going to end up losing their foot and they may end up losing below the knee and then they may end up losing the entire leg and the next one.
And then even if they do the weight loss surgery and such, a lot of times people have the surgery, have the initial weight loss, and then over time their habits never changed.
Right.
So they just kind of get slowly back to where they were before, regain the weight.
Right.
And we've seen that with other people in our own very own community. We've seen that.
Yeah. Well, the thing with this too, with the low blood pressure and ignoring the actual problem you came in with, I can't even tell you how many times I have been to a doctor's office and they have checked all my labs, done my vitals, everything, and they're like, "Wow, everything looks great. Everything looks wonderful. You're doing great. Yeah, lose 60 pounds, lose 30 pounds, lose however many pounds." Well, if everything looks great and all my labs are great and all my vitals are great, then lose however much weight. What is, am I getting anywhere? Like, what, why am I here? If you're just going to tell me everything's wonderful, but I'm fat, I own a mirror. I don't need you to tell me I'm fat. I know what's there. It's not going to change it because you pointed out.
So what she says is the deep shame of not keeping the weight off from her gastric sleeve is paralyzing. So
I don't think you should feel shame.
no, 100% no shame.
You have to forgive yourself and say, I'm doing the best that I can.
You have to give yourself grace.
Yeah, you have to give yourself grace, but you also shouldn't feel like you have to explain yourself to other people. Your doctor should be there to help you and support you and offer suggestions on how to improve. What can I do for you? We are in a service profession, regardless of if we want to admit it or not. A doctor is a service profession. He should be saying to you, or she should be saying to you, okay, tell me where you're at. How can I help you achieve the goals that you want? What are your goals? Not what are my goals? What are my goals for you? And they can even have that conversation and say, my goal for you would be X, Y, and Z. And you can say, well, my goals for me are X, Y, and Z. Compare and contrast and come to something that you both can agree on. And then how can we work together as a team to help you achieve your goals? That is what your doctor should be doing for you. That is what, I was 10 years a med surg nurse. Okay. So I still work in that way. And every morning I would go in and see my patients and write on their whiteboard, these are the goals that I have for you today. Do you agree with these goals? Do you think these are things we can meet? And they would say, oh, well, I think we can, or I don't think I'm going to get up and walk today, but how about I make a deal with you and I'll get to the chair 3 times? Deal.
Let's do that. We're going to adjust this goal. Let's erase it and write again something else. We're going to get to the chair instead of walk 3 laps in the hallway. I'm okay with that. We can adjust these things. But these are goals that we have together as a team, and let's try to work toward reaching these goals. If we don't get them all today, great. We'll work on it and try to get there. And it's just, I think the poetry points out that a lot of doctors and professionals in the medical system have forgotten that they're not in charge of you. They're supposed to be helping you.
Right. So what she says is, my doctor is great and my health is pretty good. It's just a mental thing. So
Yeah.
I've known people with the sleeve and they slowly gain the weight back. I mean, it just seems to be a thing that can happen. I think when they sell it as, the whole, this is gonna
this is gonna fix you.
This is gonna fix you. No, right. I mean, it's a tool that can be utilized to help you overcome the obstacles that you face as far as weight loss and such. It's merely a tool to help overcome certain obstacles. But again, if you're not in the right place, the tool isn't going to do you any good.
Well, and it's sort of like keto, right? It doesn't work the same for everybody either.
Right.
And I think that's a thing, you get sold a picture of this is how this is going to work and everything's going to turn out great. And maybe it doesn't. And maybe it's not great. Maybe it's only okay. But then it's that adjusting and rerouting and getting more comfortable with that new norm, that new, okay, so I'm not losing weight at keto. I don't expect I'm ever going to lose weight doing keto. That's okay. I'm all right with it. It is what it is.
I have tried talking to her into getting her blood work done and get all the panels, and she just...
It's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm fine. We're fine. The house is not burning down. We're okay. But...
See what I have to put up with? It's rude.
Getting used to that new norm for yourself. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself some love. Know that you've done the best for yourself that you can, and that you are human and you're ever adjusting and ever trying to do better. And that's the best you can do, is ever trying to do better and to make those little adjustments and those little changes. And then if you are where you are and that's the best you can do right now, okay, that's the best you can do right now. And we're all really proud of you and really happy for you.
So she says she's had her CAC scan. The score was 0.
Nice.
Her artery screenings were clean. That's
amazing.
That's beyond amazing. I still want to get my CAC scan done.
And
I am afraid. I'm always afraid that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be like, I think it's out of 100, isn't it?
I'm not a cardiac nurse.
Thanks. What are you good for? Ugh.
I can kick your butt into walking after a surgery. Anyway, I think that giving yourself grace, and weight is not, and this. You're not hearing me tell you anything different you don't already know. Weight is not the end goal.
Right. Weight is merely a symptom of something we haven't figured out yet in certain circumstances.
Right. Being healthy, being happy, being a good person,
She's one of the best people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah. Those are the end goals. Trying to live as good and as long as you can with what you're given. That doesn't mean I want to live to 115, because that's not what I said.
That her and Cindy are going to drive hours to hang out and have dinner with us or lunch or whatever it's going to be. And I can't get friends to drive across town to see me sometimes. And I hate to say friends, but I mean like people who live in town, friends who live in town.
Who's known for years.
Yeah, that I've been friends with for 20 plus years. I can't get them to go to a restaurant across town. They always want us to go down to a restaurant near their house.
Yeah.
And here, these two are coming all this way.
Just to hang out with us.
Right.
We're not that special.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Well, you can say whatever you want about you. I am the shit.
Well,
she will be. She will be there.
Oh my goodness.
The pink lady is coming.
The pink lady.
Because she
is
saw
coming.
pictures. She's got pink hair. The pink lady.
Oh, you know what she's going to do? She's going to come home after and make me find that pink wig that they put on her in Disney World, or one of the pink wigs that I bought her. And we're going to all be pink haired. All of us. We're all going to have pink hair. She's going to love it.
Oh, she's the best.
She is the best. She's all about pink.
Yes.
Pink is just the color.
Except today was blue.
Well, whatever she does, she's completely monochromatic. 100%. We're all pink or all blue or all purple. It doesn't matter what it is. We are monochromatic, head to toe. Everything has to go together. Down to the, socks, shoes, underpants, doesn't matter. All of it has to be one color.
Right. All right. There's a little bit more. There's more of this. So it's only a total of 3 minutes, but we've only gotten through like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and.
And sorry, hey Cindy, sorry there's no sound on this, but
Yeah, there's no sound.
Subtitles.
There are subtitles.
I should finish that before you say what you need.
Okay.
So,
All right, let me go back and let me finish that.
Play that for a sec. Okay, right there.
That is one of the things that I did want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I understand where she's coming from that, and she has something to say. You can go ahead and say what you want to say first.
I don't know what I was going to say.
No, because you were basically her take is from what she told me was she's depressed because she's fat or because she can't lose weight. My look at it was when I watched this is one of the things that stuck out to me as.
I didn't say that. Because she's depressed because she's fat. That's what she's saying.
Well, that's what the doctor's saying. Right. That's what I was trying to say. But you were trying to say, because my thing was, and the reason this is kind of what made me want to talk about this whole thing to begin with, is because this is the one thing out of all of it that made me kind of go, well, that's the one thing the doctor should do. The doctor shouldn't be just saying, hey, let's throw you on these drugs. Let's, have you tried exercise? Have you tried, because there's a lot of weight, and I use weight as not weight on the body, but weight as in, I can't think of the word. Gravity of the situation, where if you are getting a good workout in every day, it is harder for you to be depressed in certain circumstances. And it's not a cure-all. And I'm not trying to say that either.
No.
But it should be like when you go to the doctor, the first questions they're asking is, what are you eating? If you have, if you're saying, I'm having these depressive issues, what are you eating? How much are you working out? It's not a matter of what you look like on the outside, but how those things can make you feel on the inside. And I never want to belittle or make sure, take away what somebody's feeling. But I think this is the one thing where exercise can help a good number of people with their depression and anxiety.
Right. It's not a cure-all by any stretch, but exercise does release endorphins and does make you feel better as a human being. And going outside and getting sunlight and developing, letting your body create vitamin D. These are things that should be brought up at a doctor's appointment if you're discussing depression.
Yes.
It shouldn't be, that's it. Just go home and get some exercise and get out in the sunlight. It should be, well, let me see what I can do to help you. If we prescribe a low dose medication, whatever it may be, but I also want you to make sure that you're going outside for at least 10 to 15 minutes a day to get in the sunlight. And if you live in an area that doesn't get much sunlight, do what you can, buy a sun lamp, whatever. And then also get exercise in some way, shape, or form. I don't care how you do it or what you're doing. If you go walk 16 laps around the inside of a Walmart, do what you need to do. but you have to get physical momentum happening for your body to release endorphins to help you to feel better. And if you lose weight because of these things, fantastic. But the most important thing is that to be mentally healthy and mentally sound, you don't just need drugs. You need exercise, sunlight, a decent diet. You probably need a community of some sort. So if you don't have that, you need to do what you can to find that. If none of these things are helping, including the drugs, or even if you need more than that, you should probably talk to somebody who specializes in mental health, not just your primary care doctor. You know, these things are all like, they're all tools to use. No one of them is going to fix a problem.
Right.
And I do think that, us overweight people get a bad rep when we go to the doctor's office. They often do look right at you and make a judgment call and immediately decide that you're fat because you go to McDonald's 17 to 20 times a day.
Well, yeah.
But
well, like the thing is we still, as a society, we're still being looked at like being fat is what causes all of our problems, and not just one of the symptoms of our problems. So we know that being fat isn't what causes all of these issues, but being fat is a cause of other issues.
Right.
So once we can start getting that to be more knowledge, more in the zeitgeist of people these days, where just because you're fat doesn't mean you're unhealthy, but because you're unhealthy means you're most likely going to be fat.
Yeah.
At least in certain circumstances. I mean, obviously, if you are 300, 400, 500 pounds, there's obviously a lot of things going wrong. And it's not always how much you're eating, but it's definitely what you're eating. And it's, there's just a lot of moving parts that we're just not accounting for.
Well, and assuming that one thing is going to fix it all.
Right.
That's
losing,
silly.
Because bariatric surgery isn't obviously, it's going to make the weight go away in certain circumstances, but is it going to fix the underlying issues that cause you to gain the weight in the first place?
Right. Well, and there is no one quick fix for anything.
No.
For anything. Like I said, if you are depressed, the drugs may not work for you. You probably need to have a lot of other things fixed in your life to get you to where you're feeling better. Exercise, diet, talking to somebody, having a community, feeling supported in your life. I mean,
feeling seen.
Yes. And being like, if you can take all the drugs in the world you want, but if your home life is miserable, you're still going to be miserable. The medication is not going to fix whatever situation you may be in. It may give you a clarity to be able to remove yourself from a situation, but it's not necessarily going to fix it. So all of these things, everything together is you're a human, which means you have multiple facets to your health, your personality, your life, and no one thing is going to fix it all.
Cindy says she told Jen not to feel bad about putting weight on because after bariatric surgery, because Cindy had bariatric surgery and gained off her and still gained a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
And then Jen's looking for a recommendation for a good family doctor on the west side of Indy. So maybe we can help her with that as well. Just have her message us.
Yeah. That's going to be a tricky one.
She outlived her 53-year-old doctor.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is the assumption that thin people are healthy.
Right.
I have known so many thin people who are so unhealthy.
It's like skinny fat, like people who have all that fat around the visceral fat around their organs and such. They're thin and slim and they look okay, but they eat like trash.
All these young nurses I work with, these skinny little things, they're adorable, they're lovely, they're so much fun to work with. They eat 5 to 6 candy bars a day. And they drink energy drinks all day.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, they drink the full sugar stuff, Mountain Dew and whatnot. I just don't understand how their bodies are still functioning.
Because they're holding their pee and going for 13, 14 hours at a stretch.
Right. And don't even get me started on the trash that we do to ourselves as nurses. Dear Lord. I think I went to the bathroom one time on Saturday during my
Ugh.
whole shift. Yeah. But anywho,
All right, let's go. We're gonna.
but we're gonna play on. Sorry again, there's no
I
volume.
know.
Please feel free to read.
I'll have to continue to look this up and find out what's going on. I got the volume on. There should. I mean, I hear it just fine.
Yeah, but there are
Subtitles.
So we're gonna play a little bit more. You can.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to stop and talk about that part because I feel like this is a common feeling that everybody goes through when you've had to deal with weight, is that everybody would love to tell you how to fix yourself. And they would rather you not be there than you be who and what you are. And sometimes it's not weight, it's other things. But like, what a horrible thing to make somebody else feel. What an awful, nasty thing to make somebody else feel that way. And I often tell people that, and I've had this discussion with my kids, is that nobody makes you feel your feelings. That's you feeling them, right? But to put that out into the world, to say to somebody, I don't want you looking like this or being like this because it doesn't fit my standard or my norm. And being okay with saying that, knowing that you're basically telling somebody else to not be there, just disappear, just flash away because you're not good enough for me. That is a horrible thing to say. And no matter how they gift wrap it or put a bow on it, it still comes out the same. And it still feels the same. And I genuinely think that anybody who's ever dealt with weight issues has felt this before. And, you know, it's like that patient that I had a little while ago, this doctor who walks in and is never, you can tell by looking at them, never in their entire life have they had a weight issue, not once. And they're walking in every time they see this patient. And that is not their specialty. That is not what the patient is there for, constantly harping on their weight because the person with the weight bothers you. It bothers you. Well, that's not a problem with the person who's overweight. That's a problem within you. If it bothers you that badly that somebody else is fat, well, then I think you probably need to look inside yourself and figure out what's wrong with you. That's just my 2
And
cents.
some of it can come, you know, you would think that it hopefully was coming from a good place, that you don't want someone to live their life obese and sick, unhealthy. There, I mean, and I'm sure that a good number of doctors really do come from that place, and the fact that they are taught that fat causes all these issues. So that's kind of been ingrained in their heads their entire tenure as a doctor, from medical school into residency and all that stuff, to where they come at this problem, well, you're fat, that's why you're sick. They don't know any better, and most of them don't keep up with literature. Most of them don't have time to
Well,
keep
the
up with the
literature
literature.
doesn't represent that
Reality,
anyway.
right. Let's see here.
I feel like it, you know, and I don't believe in being super duper sensitive and, you know, always watching what you have to say, but I do think in knowing your audience and who you're talking to and what you're saying and how you're saying it can impact other people.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
So it says, what are we expecting too much from carb restriction? I don't necessarily think so. I think it's definitely a start. So low carb keto and this way of eating is another tool in the toolbox.
right.
It's a step in the right direction. Again, there's a lot of other moving parts. There's, exercise. Do you necessarily need to exercise to lose weight? Not necessarily. Is it better for you and your
Right.
to try and for your overall well-being? Yes. Now, I mean, there's obviously always going to be people who really can't exercise, or maybe you can figure something to do. Maybe, if there's a program to get you in the water to where you can move in the water where you don't have to have all the gravity, so to speak. And then there's, sunlight. There's, having a community. There's just so many
Make
things.
sure that you're getting the right vitamin intake.
Yeah.
And there's so many moving parts. And low carb and carb restriction isn't necessarily going to work for everybody. It just isn't. And everybody, we say that medicine is a science, but in reality, it's an art because every human being is different. We are not all the same. We are all very similar. We are of the same species, but we are not all the same. What works for A doesn't work for B. What works for B doesn't necessarily work for C. So it is a tool to use. And for some people, it is great and it's wonderful and it is the end all be all. But it isn't for everybody. And it isn't the only thing. And it isn't going to fix everything. We look too narrow. Our focus is always too narrow. If I fix this one thing, my life would be perfect. That's not the case. That's not ever the case. If I fix this one thing, if I tweak this one thing, if I do just this one thing, it's never one thing. It's always 20 things. Same thing with your health. It's always 20 things.
So again, even talking about testosterone, definitely have your levels checked. I've never had my levels checked. I don't think so.
No.
But I mean, it definitely probably has something to do with certain things.
And hormones play a huge impact on weight gain and weight loss. A giant impact.
Insulin is the hormone.
Correct.
So hormones like testosterone, insulin. I can't think of all the ones off the top of my head, but I mean, you would know more hormones than I would.
Estrogen, progesterone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them, regardless, and they definitely impact your body and how it adjusts, how it utilizes fat, how it utilizes all kinds of things, how you sleep. Oh, I mean, think about that. Okay, testosterone, but how do you sleep? Because if you don't sleep well, you're not healthy. And it doesn't matter if you are, you've got sleep apnea and you need a machine, or you're an insomniac and you can't sleep. So there's two different sides of the coin. There's, or you have hypersomnia and you sleep too much. That all of these things impact your body, and you can't just say one thing. It's never one thing. It's always 20 things. It's always more than one, it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to think that any doctor will say, well, if you just do this. There's never just this. It's never just one thing. And it's very frustrating.
So Jennifer Lucas says it's actually that almost every health issue is complicated by obesity, not necessarily caused by obesity, but definitely obesity is a comorbidity.
Yeah. Well, it's a comorbidity with everything.
Yes.
But often so is age. Things that you can't change. Not saying you can't change weight, but things that you can't change. I mean, that obesity is correlated, but there are 100 things that are correlated. Again, it's not just one thing. There isn't a study that's been out in the past probably 40 years that could say that they have 100% narrowed down a cause for something, because there are so many other factors involved.
So you think about
cannot account for them all.
Like cancer or smoking. Smoking, if you smoke, you're going to get cancer. Well, then they find out that for 40 years, talcum powder has had asbestos mixed in with it, because they come from basically the same place. Johnson & Johnson, big, talcum powder, baby powder. We use it on our kids. for years and years and years, from who knows when till when they finally got called out on it.
Right.
There was asbestos in talcum powder or baby powder. You
That
know,
we use on babies.
yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, and you could have been a total household that never smoked, or never around anybody who smoked, and yet everybody in your house could have got cancer. And how did this happen? Well, because somebody did something that they didn't tell you about.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's just
Well, and I think the big concept is that it's never one thing. It's always more than one thing. And we've got to spend less time focusing on one and understanding that everything is like, it's all mixed in together. You've got environmental, you've got genetic, you've got dietary, you've got mental health. There are so many parts and pieces involved in the makeup of one human being that it's not just one thing. It's never just one.
so yeah. He's like, we think we wind up going down a rabbit hole when we start focusing on health because, like you say, it's not just one part.
Never is.
Now this thing right here. So first off, when I was eating, then it was what I was eating, then it was sleep, then it's your gut health, and then you don't think it ever ends. But here's a way to think about this. Most of us, I know, we're in our 40s. Some of you are in your 50s. Some of you in your 60s. Some of you may be younger than us in the chat. I don't know for sure. But you have to think.
Younger than us, keep it to yourself.
But think about it. Think about it like this: you didn't get sick in 1 year. It wasn't, you didn't get sick and then, where we are now, we didn't get that way in 1 year.
No.
We got that over decades of doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
That caused, so
Of
we're
learned behaviors
yes.
and environmental factors and, all of these things. Everything plays a role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So dietary, what we're eating, what we're putting in our bodies, how much we're eating is definitely a jumping off point.
And it's something that you can have the majority of the control over.
Yeah.
So it is a great thing to start. If you start with restricting carbs and doing a keto lifestyle, that's a good place to start.
I'm not a big fan of the word restricting of carbs.
Okay.
And I mean, I know that's been said here, but to me, I don't necessarily think that what I'm doing is restricting my carb. I'm self-aware of what I'm putting in my body, and I'm just choosing to not have that. I wouldn't say I'm restricting it or depriving myself, because I think that restriction it kind of gets a bad connotation, a negative connotation. And I think that if we can kind of in our own perception, in our own brain, push things into a positive direction,
Right.
like, instead of restricting carbs, I'm prioritizing protein. I'm prioritizing healthy fats. And those, that's what I'm doing for myself.
My health.
Yes.
I mean, dang, those cookies on Monday look good, but they sat there on the table while I was at work because no, I'm trying to do better.
Do you know what's sitting on our kitchen table right now?
What is on our kitchen table?
There is a Rice Krispie treat.
No, it's not.
Did she eat it?
I gave it to our daughter.
Okay. Well, okay. But anyway, it's been sitting there since like last week.
Yeah.
Because I went and picked up something from Facebook Marketplace. It was like a bunch of bows for the girl.
She's watching.
She's not listening to this. She's not this deep into this. If she's still watching, she's out.
True. We put her to sleep.
Yes.
Right now.
So
Anyway.
we went, and in the bag was a bunch of snacks. There was like the little single servings.
Rice Krispie treat.
There was a Rice Krispie treat. There was some chips and different stuff like that. And she's got a metabolism like a furnace.
Well, she doesn't stop physically ever.
No. So we're a little more lenient with what we give her. We're still not giving her just straight trash.
No, we don't typically supply those things. But if they come naturally to the house,
yeah,
then she's welcome to partake in them.
Because she shows up in the morning sometimes with, chips or whatever. But I mean, in our house, we've talked about this ad nauseum, but cottage cheese, string cheese. We do give her stuff like chicken nuggets. We may not be the best, but we've got to get the meat into the body because she is a 5-year-old and picky as all get out.
She does still eat eggs.
She likes eggs.
But today, Mom put sprinkled cheese on it, the shredded cheese, as opposed to a cheese slice. And we were having it.
It was not okay. We
Yeah.
had a minor meltdown.
Yeah.
You know, but we try.
Yeah. So this is more to what I was saying. Like, we've got decades of damage. Like, I smoked from the time I was 15, 16 years old till just before we met. I quit smoking in 2010.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's that amount of damage.
Right.
There's all the as long as I was huge and 400 pounds and 300 pounds, as long as I've been, you know, as long as I worked at a sit down job where I didn't really move around a lot. I mean, I did work at a warehouse for 10 years where I was on my feet all day. That sure probably didn't help me walking on concrete all day, every day. But so, I mean, there's just damage on top of damage on top of damage on top of just eating like complete and utter trash from,
From school age on.
from school age until into my 20s when I could choose what I wanted to eat. And I ate as much as I wanted. I ate anything and everything I wanted because you know what? I deserve it.
Well, and
I mean, it's terrible advice.
Because I'm an adult and I'm
Yes.
going to do what I want. And freaking, yeah. And M&M sounds like a fabulous dinner. Like, yes.
Who is this?
Your perfect keto pusher misses you.
I haven't been getting emails from my perfect keto rep. I need to reach out to them. I don't know. They may have dropped me as a what you call it. I don't
What
know.
have we not done?
Well, I mean, we just haven't gotten any emails in like 2 months. I
Oh.
usually get emails like twice a week.
Yeah.
Well, we switched. I got a new rep. The rep that I had for a while, for like 2 years or whatever, got a promotion, and I got a new rep, and I haven't been hearing from him as much. Sorry, as much as I'd heard from her. So I don't know. I just probably need to reach out. Well, I weighed myself earlier this week. I was about 325 pounds, which that is shameful to me. I do feel shame on that, and I know that we talk about not letting that happen. But I mean, it is something that is difficult to really. So I started at over 420 some pounds. I'm now 325, but I had gotten down to like 273. And then the pandemic hit, and I was working from home. I never left the house, and it was very easy just to come downstairs and throw food in my face. And while 80 to 90% of that was keto approved food or keto whole foods and whatever, there was a lot of junk food because then we started this channel.
Well, and the kids were in the house.
And the kids were in the house. Yeah.
Awful things around all the time.
So there was just a lot of obstacles to overcome. And I'm working my way back in the right direction.
Right.
Because I have to for my own mental well-being. Because
we've got a 5-year-old granddaughter to be around.
I have to be there for her. I have to be there because she gave me a little toy of her. I can show you this. So I carry this in my pocket everywhere I go. Now it doesn't have the same hair color as her.
It doesn't look anything like her at all.
No, but it's a little doll. And she says, Paul, keep this with you so you never forget me. Never forget me. And I'm like, are you crazy, child? There is no way I could ever forget her. And if something happens to me and I do forget her, it's ditch time. Put me in a ditch. I don't care.
But yeah, I mean, it's the whole package of being a human and living on this earth. There are so many things that come in and out and go up and down and go around in circles, and you've got to figure out your own flow. And starting out with a weight loss or even just controlling what you can put into your mouth is a step. And then move from there and keep pivoting. Okay, I've got this under control and I can manage this right now. What can I do next? I mean, I actually, before even worrying about weight loss, it was worrying about how to financially manage our lives. And that is not perfect, but it's far more under control than it was when we were in our 20s.
Yeah, one of the things I remember when we got together, one thing that she was always worried about was sodium content in food.
Yeah.
And how much we wouldn't buy certain kinds of fish because of how much sodium was in it. And I was like, okay, all right. I was like, different kinds of breakfast cereals we would buy based on sodium content, not sugar content.
Yeah.
So we were buying frosted shredded wheats.
Hey, That's some good stuff.
It is tasty.
You need to, if you need to have a bowel movement, a handful of those.
Now, one question I have is, are you getting them from the promotion side, or are you, because I am an affiliate or was an affiliate with them. So I would get emails from my affiliate director of that company. So I don't know if we're talking about the same stuff, but I haven't even really seen anything like advertising wise, like advertising me as a consumer, like on other emails that I have. So I don't know. One thing that I want to do, I do want to get back to this video so we can watch.
Yeah, kind of derailed.
There,
we always do.
There's like about a minute and a half left, give or take.
Just play it to the end.
Yes.
And
then we can discuss it.
Sorry, no sound.
Yeah, we got a minute and 19 seconds left.
Okay.
There's a lot to unpack in that as well.
Yeah. So I like where she talks about loving herself.
Yes.
As she is. And I think you should. You should love yourself as you are. Give yourself grace. Realize that perfection is not perfect and it's not attainable. It's not a thing. It's not a reality. It's a pretend perception of the world that's been sold to you by Disney, by the Kardashians, by,
their perfection. They buy their perfection.
Regardless, it is unreal. It is not
Perfection.
a reality. Perfection is not reality. There is no such thing. So give yourself grace. You're perfectly normal. You're perfectly okay. You're perfectly perfect in your own way. And you need to be okay with that. That's the first thing. The second thing is not having an obligatory feeling of I should be thinner. I should be thinner. I should try to fit into this, because that's an unachievable thing that you're putting out in front of yourself. Now, you may get there by whatever means, but putting that in front of yourself as something like you're not good enough until you do, that's just stopping your own progress. Stopping your own progress by saying, oh, well, if I were just 5 pounds thinner. My dad always used to rub his stomach and say, there's a thin man inside of me. My older sister said, what'd you do, swallow a Barbie? I mean, you have to give yourself grace and be okay with who you are, where you are, knowing that your journey's not over, weight-wise, mental-wise, financial-wise, whatever. Your journey's not over. You're not at the end yet. Somebody still has, the rest of the pages in your book are not filled. So give yourself grace where you are. And
yes, but you also have to understand, like Jennifer says down here, that the reality that obesity isn't healthy, but we all know what it's like to feel shame for our size. And
right.
That's what I think what we get into is, I don't believe in the body shaming of somebody, no matter how big they are, because you don't know their struggle. You don't know if they're 10 minutes into a new journey or 7 weeks or 7 years. Someone may look at me and say, that dude's huge.
Yeah.
And, they see my cart and I'm buying steaks and I'm buying burgers and I'm buying eggs and butter and cheese and all the things that we're told are not healthy. And they go, well, that's why he's the way he is. Without ever thinking, that's how I've gotten from where I came from.
Well, and I don't believe obesity is healthy.
It is not.
Stretch. But I also don't believe that we measure it on a scale that makes sense for the humans that are on this planet at this time.
Right.
The BMI scale is wrong. It just is. It was created in the 1500s. It was created when people were dealing with famine. The majority of the population was under, was dealing with famine and an inability to feed themselves. So no, I don't believe that the BMI scale is correct. And I think that there's definitely a scale that needs to be adjusted, and it's the BMI scale, and it needs to be adjusted for where humans are right now. Does that mean that obesity is okay? I think, again, you don't know where somebody is in their journey, and maybe they just aren't where they should be or where they want to be or where they whatever, but maybe they're trying and they're doing their best.
And you have to take a step back. And are you looking at them because you want them to be where you think they should be? Or are you looking at them, or maybe, because where somebody is in their journey is absolutely none of your business unless they make it your business.
Yeah.
I think that's where we get where the difference between fat acceptance or, body positivity is loving who you are where you are today. Because today doesn't matter what I'm doing for myself. Today is I'm not going to be where I want to be today. That's always tomorrow. But I still have to love who I am today.
Yeah.
And I have to, and everybody should be looking at you going, okay, well, this is who you are today. But we don't know that journey. We don't know what their plans are for tomorrow.
Right. Well, and things like clothing companies making more sizes and making more stylish clothes for larger sizes. That shouldn't just be happening now in 2023. Like
Right.
in the 2020s, that shouldn't have just now started. Because making ugly crap that fits poorly for the last however many hundreds of years didn't make anybody any thinner.
No.
Did it? It just made the fat people feel bad.
Yes.
All you fat people in the back, if those clothes made you feel bad, raise your hands.
I had to shop at Kmart. That was like my own. It was either Kmart or it was like those big and tall stores that marked everything up because they knew you didn't have anywhere else to go. So Kmart is where I shopped. I would wear, go figure, tan cargo pants.
Like you do.
Like I'm wearing right now. T-shirts, but like I try not to wear anything with a print or a pocket or anything like that. I always tried, and I still do I'm always more of a blender inner.
A blender
inner.
Yeah.
Because
the beard doesn't stick out at all.
I mean, but I control that.
I know.
I control what people see of me. I've always been very controlling of how I dressed to the best of my ability. So, I mean, even still, like, how am I with shoes? I've got to be all black. I'm just very weird when it comes to the clothes that I wear. I don't like leaving. I won't be on live stream if you can see hair.
Yeah.
If I can help it. If I have time to shower and shave my head, I'm going to do it. It's a very big thing to me is I have to present myself in the best possible light because I've always been so shameful of who I was on the outside. So I did everything in my power to present to the world all of the things that I could control because my weight and how I looked in my clothes wasn't always something that I could control. So I'm very weird about that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. Well, and like I said, being accepting of other people in general, how they look, whatever, it shouldn't be a new concept. It really shouldn't be. I'm glad that it is a concept now that's out and about, but it really shouldn't be a new concept. I remember being a fat kid. Exactly. I remember being a fat kid and having to wear my brother's old clothes because boy clothes were a little bit roomier. And I remember growing and being a high schooler, and my mom refused to take me to anywhere that sold plus size clothes. So I got to wear stretch pants and men's t-shirts because that's what fit you. And, my older sister, one of them, I have three older sisters and an older brother. So that was three fingers. It just didn't look like that on camera. There's three. Oh, I do know how to count. Anyway, one of my older sisters would take me to the pretty plus section at Sears, and those clothes were horrible and they were ugly, and everything is floral and everything had sequins. Why in the hell would a fat girl want bright big flowers and sequins everywhere? You think I'm already not the largest thing in the room? Still have a problem with that. Torrid still does that a lot. They make fat clothes or fat people clothes, and I wear
That's like
some of
their
them.
primary customer base, isn't
For
it?
some reason, they feel like we all look beautiful in flowers and sequins. It is not a good look.
Well, is that may be what sells, and they just keep
Well,
putting
that's
out there.
because that's what we all grew up with. Somebody telling us you look good in bright flowers.
It's like my
You
mom.
look like you're wearing draperies.
Growing up, my mom wore sweatpants, or before, at the time of the 80s, if you remember, like the stretchy stirrup pants,
Yes.
flip-flops, and men's t-shirts, men's plain colored t-shirts. She wore that my entire life. Like, I saw her dressed up just a short few handful of times, and one of those was her funeral. And I always worried, like in middle school, I was in a men's 2XL t-shirt, and I knew that was like the biggest size that they had at Kohl's. And I was worried, well, what am I going to do if I get bigger and I can't wear it? Because they were already kind of stretching it to the limit. Now, even like in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, when I was in middle school, an extra large or 2 extra large was smaller than it is now.
Yeah.
So like a 2XL now is more like a 3 or 4X then. Because you can look at sizes in your shirts and go, okay, that's way bigger than it was back then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm wearing a 2XL shirt right now, but that would have been a 3 or 4X in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a food for thought. Like, yeah, I'm in a 2X shirt, but then you really like kind of get an understanding of where that 2X is and size comparison.
And time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the thing is that we should expect this of our society to adjust for all of the people. Yes, buffalo plaid. It is a no. It is a no. And the really long sweaters, okay, they are cozy and they are comfortable. But if you ever get a butt view of yourself in one of those really long sweaters, they always look bad. I did not know this until my best friend pointed it out to me. But I was actually, no, it was my sister Nikki pointed it out to me. I tried one on at a thrift store, and I was like, oh, I really like this. And she said, no, you don't. I said, why don't I? She said, oh, honey, if you could see the back, it's a no. It's a solid no. Do not do it to yourself. So those long sweaters that cover your butt, and everybody thinks, oh, it covers my butt. No, no, do not do that to yourself. Anywho, as far as the clothes and stuff like that, and even like airplane seat sizes and stuff like that, they should really work toward making them inclusive, because you can't expect somebody, no matter where they are in their journey, to always fit into what is available. And it's kind of unfair. And even things, like, well, the vanity sizing.
Well, the thing is,
that's
like,
ridiculous.
the fact that women don't have, like, that women's clothing doesn't have a standardized sizing across all manufacturers.
Oh yeah,
is ridiculous. Like, there's no way I could ever go buy clothes for her unless she wrote it down explicitly with pictures and exactly what store I need to go to, what brand, what size, what color, what pattern. Otherwise, I would get the wrong thing because there's no way to know.
I still remember being a teenager and buying a size of clothes at one store and getting the same size at a different store and going home and wearing the one fit perfectly and the other one, it was like, well, I guess I'm not eating this week so that I can fit in those by next week. The same exact size.
So that's where, to me, like, the whole idea of body positivity is you have to love who you are today,
right?
Because you're not going to change who you are today. That's for tomorrow. Right. And I mean, who you are, who you woke up this morning is who you are today. And every day we're hopefully getting 1% better we're moving the needle 1% every day. Even that may not necessarily be realistic, but at least hopefully we're trying and we're putting forth effort. We're showing up. We're here. We're talking about it. We're trying to build a community to help others. We're trying to do everything we can for ourselves and for others in a healthy way. That's why body positivity is so important. But body positivity doesn't mean you're glorifying obesity. I think, sorry to cut you off, but I think there is some of that going on in society right now that is glorifying obesity, because I understand that there's people out there who are bigger and they think you can be healthy and fat. I've seen articles about it. I've seen celebrities talking about it, and that's just not necessarily the case. I mean, biomarkers may tell you that you are big and healthy, but you don't gain weight if something's not. You don't gain all this weight if something's not right. If everything's working properly, you're just not going to gain the weight in most circumstances. And I know we've seen different, I was at Low Carb for Better Health, and I believe that it was Dr. Westman talking about somebody in his office that was like 600 pounds, and they had everything, all their biomarkers were perfect, and their HbA1c was fine, and their fasting insulin was fine. And you're like, but where is the problem? Is there a problem? I don't know. But with that, I mean, we do our best to not glorify obesity by just being accepting of those in our community, and even those that are in our community. Like, you would never go up to somebody in a grocery store buying, 5 cases of Mountain Dew and 8 bags of chips, and and they're in their cart, and they're riding it and they can't walk, and go, well, this is why, because you wouldn't want someone to do it to you.
Yeah. Well, and the last part of the poem where she was talking about, I don't owe you health.
Yes. She owes it to herself, but she doesn't owe it to you.
She doesn't know it. This one kind of confounds me a little bit, because it is a little frustrating, because I do work in healthcare and I see people who are repeat offenders. Let's just put it that way. Repeat offenders, right? And they are chronic alcoholics, or they are COPD patients who still smoke. And it's like, and it's not even like, oh, you're a tax to the system. It's just the frustration of being the nurse who cared for somebody who doesn't even want to try, but they want you to fix them. And it's like, I don't have magical powers. I can't fix things. If you won't try, I can't do much. The best I can do is get you healthy enough to maybe walk out this door, or we can go the other way and make you comfortable until you leave by other routes. But it's that part I find frustrating, because I don't think you owe anybody else health. But I think the chronic offenders who continually come to the medical system and say, fix me, fix me, fix me, fix me, and they do nothing to fix themselves. That's what I find frustrating. I'm not taking any of the meds you prescribe me. Okay. How do you suppose things are going to get better if you're not going to try? I'm not checking my blood sugars. Okay. How do you expect us to know what's going on? I refuse to allow you to draw labs on me. Okay. Why'd you come to the hospital then? If you don't want me to do anything and you don't want me to care for you, why are you here? I can't help you if you won't let me help you.
Take a pin in that and take a step back from that.
Sorry.
No, what I'm saying is take that thought process that you have right there, mm-hmm, and take a step back. Now implant that in the doctors and what they say.
True. It comes
because a lot of doctors look at everyone who's sick, regardless of what that patient may or may not be doing, and they look at people who are, eating the standard American diet but gaining weight is non-compliant.
Yeah.
So you have to look. So that's where Well,
and I think, unfortunately, with the healthcare system, when you're looking at a doctor and where they're coming from, there is a chronic. They feel like they've been lied to, right? And this is something you have to deal with when you're dealing with a primary care doctor often, or when you're dealing with a physician in the hospital.
cats are
Our
fighting.
cats are fighting. Sorry about that.
I don't know if they could even hear it.
But they feel like they're being lied to because they're doing what they've been taught is the correct thing. They're prescribing the meds, they're doing all these things, and you're still coming in with the same problem and there's been nothing fixed. And so we've tried X, Y, Z, Q, and all the other letters in the alphabet, and nothing is working. So what are you lying to me about? And in reality, there is a portion of the population that does lie to healthcare. Oh no, I don't smoke. Really? Really? Have you? When was the last time you did smoke? Oh no, I quit 10 years ago. Okay. Did you have a smoke when you were out with your friends 2 weeks ago? Because it's still the same kind of thing, And it's just, or I don't drink. You don't drink. Okay. So why are you going through withdrawals if you don't drink? There is a portion of the population that lies to doctors. It is what it is. But then there's also, like, you take what you've learned as a whole and you utilize it to make judgments on your further encounters, right? So everybody comes with prejudices, and that is something that I think develops over time, is that a lot of healthcare providers get it into their heads after seeing so many people and seeing that there are things that they can't change, they can't help, they can't do all of that. They look at it and they go, well, you must be lying to me. Oh, I know we just met and you tell me you eat healthy, but you're 400 pounds. So you must be lying to me.
And then they may also not understand too the things that they're saying, because you were telling me about that
Yeah, the one doctor who
was mean to the lady or
was
whatever.
mean to the patient, and he's like, well, what am I supposed to say? And I just explained to him that the patient no longer wanted him as a doctor. And I said, the patient does know how to do this. She's dealt with her weight in the past. She knows how to manage it, but she currently is making the wrong choices. And I just left it really at that. There was more that I wanted to say, but I don't know this doctor horribly well, and I wasn't going to be insulting. But the reality is that there's a way that you can speak to somebody. And when you, again, look like you've never had a weight issue in your entire life and you think you're coming off as genuine and sincere, oftentimes you're coming off as condescending and you're not going to help somebody. And so when I went back in and I spoke with the patient, I explained, look, I've had a weight issue my whole life too, and I understand where you're coming from. And it's hard, but you know the right things to do and you know how to do it. And if you want to, and when you're ready to, you can find support. And I can't be there to help support you because I work in the ICU, but you've been through, she had weight loss surgery in the past, you've been through weight loss surgery, you can rely back on those doctors. When was the last time you had a check-in with them? Maybe you should call them. Maybe you need to go back to a support group. Those types of things, those are what I'm suggesting that doctors do, instead of just looking at somebody and going, man, over and over again, I see people just like you. You are the stereotypical ex-patient. Well, maybe they're not the stereotypical ex-patient, because we have all learned growing up that stereotypes don't mean anything. And I am not the same as him. He is not the same as me. We are not the same as Jen, either of them. So, I think we get, in the medical profession, people get jaded and they often just look at you and decide with a vision, with one sight, with one impression, you are X. And because of that, I'm going to treat you this way. And I think the flaw doesn't only lie within the physician or the person, it also lies within the system, right?
The system sets us up for those flaws.
The system sets us up to make a doctor jaded. they see, let's talk about like in a doctor's office, like an outpatient office, an outpatient physician, they're being pushed every year to take more patients. Some of them see upwards of 50 patients a day. There is
Getting
no
2
way,
minutes with each patient.
right? There is no way that they can sit and have a conversation with you and get to know you as a human, and then go, okay, well, for you, you've tried this and that, and it doesn't seem to work. Why don't we try X, Y, and Z? Why don't we try these other options? Let's see what we can do about it. And then you come back in. Now, if you come back in and you've been non-compliant with everything, and you go, I know you told me to keep a food journal, but I threw it in the trash day 2 and didn't do it. They're probably going to be less likely to offer you more and more suggestions.
Yeah.
But that, we have to work together. The whole idea of a doctor and a doctor's office and medical assistants is that they are supposed to be there to help you, but you have to look at them as a member of your team. And you also, again, have to try often to work with them and make a compromise, make a deal. Like I said, when I was a nurse on a med surg floor, we would talk about goals every morning. These are my goals for you. What are your goals for you? Let's see if we can make a match. Let's see if we can make them fit together. Let's see if we can compromise. And again, I see that in keto world, that doctors and labs and diagnoses and things are often
Not trusted, right?
Not trusted and not necessarily collaborative. But you should be, and again, perfect world, right? We don't live in one. You should be able to talk to your doctor and come up with a compromise. Statins in particular, I don't suggest them. I'm not a doctor. I don't wear a white coat. This is not medical advice. But what I'm going to say is I don't think there's any value to taking a statin.
Unless you own stock in a statin company.
And again, not a doctor,
right.
Not medical advice, not telling you what to do with
your financial life. Advice either.
None of the above. I don't see any value in taking statins.
And on that note, we've been talking for an hour and almost 45 minutes.
I'm sorry, and I dominated the majority.
No, that's what I want. I want you are the person that I go to for most things. And I trust you. And you are my person. And that's why I want you to sit down and talk with me once a week with all these fine folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, we appreciate each and every single one of you.
Yes, we do. Thank you for listening to me just run my mouth.
I have a new live stream that I'm doing by myself. I take that back. I'm doing it with other people. I started last Saturday, and I did that with James from Ready Set Keto. This week, this coming Saturday, I am sitting down with Lindy from Paleo Barbie Does Keto. The following week, I'm sitting down with Cindy DeManch. I also have Indigo Neely coming up. We have a date for her. I have a date for Maitreya. That'll be coming in 2024 because we're already almost done with November, oddly enough, trying to push these.
Believe that?
I know, trying to get people set up. Are
we doing a next week stream?
What is next week?
Thanksgiving week.
Yes, we'll do it because it's Tuesday. We'll do it. And then
you gotta tell us what you're having for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll talk about Thanksgiving next week. I've got some big YouTubers in the works. I've got people that are just close to me that I want to talk to. I want to mix. I don't want to just talk to big YouTubers. I want to talk to you individuals because you are the people that are my community. So it doesn't matter.
People.
Yes, and it doesn't matter to me subscriber count, view count. I don't care. I care about you and what you have to say and what you've been through. Like I said, I am trying to reach out to all kinds of people to see who wants. I've got friends that aren't even in ours necessarily specific community that I want to talk to. I just want to have open, honest conversations with as many viewpoints as I can. And and so far it's hopefully living up to that. I know I'm having semi-retired.
One podcast. It was definitely lived up to it.
I know, right? One podcast. Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yes. Yeah. Semi-retired Bob is another person I've got coming on. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody here and there, but I've got some other people that I haven't yet solidified and nailed down a date yet. once those are, then you'll just kind of keep a lookout. I'll be making thumbnails and making all of those arrangements, so you will know when they're coming and who we'll be talking with on Saturday mornings. Now the times are going to fluctuate. It's not going to be 7:30 every day because I've got people from West Coast, middle of the country, maybe other parts of the world coming on to talk to me. And I mean, they're not going to want to get up at 4:30 in the morning to talk to me. So
Well, I mean, you are
that
pretty awesome.
I mean I am, but I mean sleep is probably more important to
If I
them.
have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to talk to you,
Yeah.
then other people should have to too.
Oh, this is so sweet. And we appreciate you
Well,
too
thank
very
you
much.
so much. We probably need to get our whelp on.
Well, anyway, keep an eye on. I'm still doing Sunday morning coffee. Just me talking, rambling with all of you. So I appreciate everybody who shows up and talks with me every morning. That I do these on Saturdays and Sundays now. Keep coming back for Tuesday because this pretty lady is pretty important to me. And
That's about the only time I'm available.
yeah, basically. So, I mean, if she was available Saturdays and Sundays, she'd be on there with me. But as we are, I deal with what I have. So thank each and every one of you. You're all amazing. We wouldn't do this if it wasn't for you.
Otherwise, we'd just be sitting here talking to ourselves.
And that is probably going to happen eventually every once in a while.
It happens every day
Yes.
anyway.
I talk to myself all the time.
Chronic.
And I talk to her. She's not even listening.
Most of the time.
But anyway, we love you. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye, guys.